Did a data transformation project on Kentucky's hospital bed stats here. This is August 2021's numbers, and I just wanted to answer a few simple questions. And so I did a 2-page report in Google Data Studio that showed the available ICU beds, the available hospital beds of all types, the average emergency room visits per day in the entire state that were for COVID, and then the average per day emergency room visits for any cause in the state. And then I also showed where the most full counties, like how many ICU beds and all hospital beds they had in the county. And then I also showed the counties that had the highest available capacity, so that way if there were ICU beds available in a nearby county, they could be highlighted, and people could be transferred from the overcrowded counties to those counties if that was needed. What I started out with and what was available was just sort of table data, or even worse than this. There was a map, but all I had was, like, if you see there's all these H's of different colors, and if you zoom out and you see the United States, it's really crazy. It's okay for if you zoom in a little bit, but you would still have to click on each hospital to be able to see how many beds were there. It doesn't just give you a highlight of which areas have, the most. So this is okay, but I wanted to transform it over to something. So I'm going to show you how I did that whole process in a sped forward video. I'm just going to do a voiceover on it and check it out. And if you want to learn how to build Google Data Studio reports like the one that I just showed you here, definitely check out the link in the description, because I have courses that are available that I've made that will teach you how to build exactly this and more. So thanks for watching. So the data that I started out with was just this table, and I copied and pasted that over into Google Sheets, but I had to do lots and lots of cleaning and conditioning to get it to be usable. So there were lots of non-number entities in there, like all these n/a's, and those aren't numbers, so you can never calculate anything out of those. So I think honestly that's kind of bad practice. The best way to do that is just to keep those blank if you don't know them, and then just put a note that says, hey, these are blank. So I went through, did a couple calculations for a couple different additional data points that I wanted to see, like the 7-day averages and the average per day patient emergency room visits, and how many of those patients were tagged as COVID cases. And those calculations are pretty simple. So pretty quickly I was able to outline the questions that I wanted to answer with my visualization, and I just started building this out. So first thing I went to go do was show all of the the highest quantity of ICU bed availability, and I wanted that breakdown to be by county. So I did sort of heat map table, and I showed the total beds, the ICU beds, and the amount of available ICU beds. So then I did available ICU beds across the entire state, and then all of the open beds of all types across the state, because maybe some of those beds could be repurposed. And then we showed how many people were walking in daily. Then I wanted to highlight which counties had beds available that could potentially be utilized, so I did a similar visualization for that. But then I also went with a scatter plot as well at the end to just show how the counties that had high rates of occupancy and high rates of bed availability, or just a high amount of beds available, and just show where they were at. And really only 2 counties had both categories. Those were in the 2 major cities in Kentucky.